Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to talk to you about winning the hearts and the minds of the future consumer. And specifically, while you were watching the models, I was watching you. Specifically, I was watching your hands. I watched TC, HK's, and Nick's sleeves when they were speaking earlier today, and it struck me that 2 out of 3 were still wearing an analog watch. I mean, why? Why do we still wear an analog watch? I mean, in today's age, we have digital time all around us. It's on our smart devices, it's on our iPads, on our laptops, and then we insist on wearing analog watches that we have to set by the digital time. Digital time that upgrades no matter what time zone in the world that you are in. Digital time is more precise, it's convenient, and it's in tune with reality. So ladies and gentlemen, by show of hands, who's with the guys from the HP executive? Raise your hands, ladies and gentlemen, if you are still wearing an analog watch on your hands. Ladies and gentlemen, look around the room. I mean, this is like 50 or 60% of the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a love-hate relationship as a futurist with the digital future that we're entering into. I love digital, but I have extremely strong feelings for tradition, the high touch, the analog. And today's session is really about the convergence of the digital and the analog so that you guys can win the digital minds and connect with the analog hearts of tomorrow's consumer. This is absolutely key in winning for business tomorrow. Let me take you back to where I'm from, ladies and gentlemen, to the center of this clock. Now, Sweden is not famous necessarily for producing Swiss watches that are from Switzerland, but I want to take you back for a moment to the center of that watch, the place where I grew up, and the explanation for my love-hate relationship with digital. In 1917, ladies and gentlemen, a man by the name of Georg Johansson moved to the cityscape of Stockholm. This was just a mere 5 years after Stockholm hosted the Summer Olympics of 1912, a time even before the Swedish femme fatale Greta Garbo hit the stage in Hollywood. It was a time during which show jumping without a human analog rider was still part of the Olympics. Imagine how much has changed in a mere 100 years. Georg Johansson moved to a cityscape that was the convergence of the rural and the urban, a city on the verge of international sophistication, but where the horse was still dominating the landscape. Georg Johansson, the man from the farm hit by drought, had spotted a commercial opportunity to open up a retail store in Stockholm, Sweden. He decided that he wanted to dress the men of Stockholm, to tailor, to bespoke service, to give them the high touch tailoring that they needed, to have the shirts that fit their face, to watch their seasonally adjusted girth. It gets cold in winter in Sweden, go up and down, and tailor clothes for individuals so they could look smart. This store, formed in 1917, is still around, and in his move from the rural to the urban, Georg Sörman changed his surname from Johansson to Sörman. And ladies and gentlemen, he's my great-grandfather. The store is still around. It's a bricks and mortar establishment that made its business via very analog communications, via print. And today, my mother, Birgitta, runs the business. And I think she looks kind of fantastic for 106. But her business environment is being digitally disrupted. On her shoulders lies the burden of 3 generations of retail expertise. For the last 10 years, she's barely breaking even or running the business at a loss. She doesn't know whether it's going to make it to its centenary. And I talked to Mum. She's my toughest client, by the way. She's a pro bono client, and she goes, Anders, I should be a pro bono client, i.e. not pay you anything for your consulting services, because you were a bloody big baby. Now that might have gotten lost in translation somewhere down the track. It sounds fantastic in Mandarin though, I believe. But her choice today is whether she should go with the analog or with the digital. Because her business is being digitally disrupted today. The clients who used to go into the store and hang out with my grandfather and my great-grandfather, the people who used to get tailored up, who used to have their seasonally adjusted girth measured, who knew that black were a particularly good color for them, now go into the store, spend time with one of the tailors, and in a moment of weakness, when the tailor looks away, wearing his measuring tape around his neck, the client writes down their measurements, scans a barcode or two, says, thank you very much, that was great service, exits to the sound of a lonely bell, and orders the item online via eBay or Amazon. And I go, Mum, wouldn't it be amazing if you captured all this rich digital data about your clients and continued the service, the bespoke tailoring that you guys have always been famous for, via a great customer relationship management tool? So you could segment and send targeted messages about the new season, the special color of black that just came in, just for you, for the unique psychographics of her consumer. And she goes, nej son, du förstår inte. Våra klienter vet inte man använder internet. Which is profound if you speak Swedish. And what it means is this: no son, you don't understand. Our clients don't know how to use the internet. And I go, Mum, so they only understand how not to buy from you online. And that's usually where the conversation ends. She represents the analog, and she's fighting a battle with Amazon. Is she going to win this battle? Not with her current state of mind. She's become a showroom, a concept store for eBay and for Amazon. She should be collecting a commission from them, yet she's not. But this is not just a story about menswear retail, it's a story about consumer electronics and retail as a whole. Here is a company that used to get hammered because it was too analog, and now it's slowly moving into the digital space. And the dynamics are these. The analog is the face-to-face versus the interface-to-interface. It's the old school versus the new school. It's the offline versus the online. It's the hearts versus the minds. And the question is which side she should pick. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 things I want to speak to you about today. Firstly, the idea of digital disruption. The idea that everything that can be digitized effectively will be digitized. That does not mean that everything that can be digitized should be digitized. And secondly, that while we're today hyper-connected, LinkedIn and online 24/7, 365, in many ways our minds might have gone digital, but our hearts are still very much analog. Let me start with digital disruption. Everything that can be digitized will be digitized, ladies and gentlemen. This was the ad for eBay at Christmas in 2011 around Australia, encouraging the consumer to go into Westfield and buy it on eBay. Their latest advertisement, dress like an accountant. I'm going to do that again. Dress like a model, but shop like an accountant. Price disruption and commoditization driven by the internet. The only people making money in these two instances are the people making the yellow and black signs. And maybe they were printed on HP equipment. For those of you who love statistics, just a few little slides for you. Who are the people that love statistics, by the way? All the CFOs, the COO, etc. Fantastic. I want more people to be into numbers and statistics because they matter. Yeah? These slides were just for you guys, by the way. Now we know the long-term trend in newspaper advertising revenue. Sound down, please. The music format that you are using today. 93% used to be CDs in 2000. In 2005, digital popped up 9% versus 85% CDs, and in 2010, 47% digital, and these were only the legal downloads. In 2011, we reached a paradigm shift with more smartphones and tablets shipping globally than PCs and notebooks. And what we are finding out is that Asia is the digital future lab of these developments. Asia continues to dominate in mobile connections, and they will continue to do so because you have digital minds. And the Asian consumers today are taking matters into their own digital hands. These are the millions of mobiles in their thousands and the percentage of the Asian population that are equipped with them. And what's going to drive this trend even further is the urbanization trends across countries like India, Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Korea, where rural populations are now connecting in the urban environment. And across Asia, what we're already seeing is that social and digital media across Vietnam, China, Thailand is heavily influencing their consumer decisions. The laggards are the Aussies, the Japanese, and the New Zealanders, or we just have no self-awareness of what we're influenced by. Digital retail across the world is increasing, and we know this picture for the future. In conclusion, there is a steady shift toward digital media as opposed to analog, traditional, high-touch media. And in conclusion, Asia is the digital future lab of the world. But the bigger mega trend here that sits above all of this is not just digitization, it's the end of information asymmetry. Because the consumer now has a torch in his or her pocket, and they're shining it right on the entire supply and value chain and going, I can get a better price here. The internet democratized information, and now when you go into places like McDonald's, you can scan your chicken McNuggets and augmented reality will tell you where the chicken came from, who was the farmer that made those chickens, and whether the corporate social responsibility of McDonald's is in tune with your values as a consumer. Information asymmetry is no longer. And Asia has the most connection to digital screens of any part of this world today and moving into the future. Whether that be mobile video devices, online video or home TV usage, it is the highest in Asia, bar none. Aren't you happy they ended the afternoon with a motivational speaker? I see two opportunities in all of this digitization, here specifically in Asia. You have some Asian demographics, some economies that are very, very quickly aging, who have a population like China, Japan, South Korea, Thailand, that are quickly aging. The aging population we can also refer to as digital immigrants. They speak technology with a heavy accent, like my mum. The other demographic story is that you have a bunch of digital natives in countries like Indonesia and the Philippines. These are the people who speak technology natively, without an accent. They have digital DNA, and just like ink runs through HK's veins, they have digital running through their veins. Those two commercial opportunities that I see in Asia is firstly connecting the rural with the urban. With this mass migration, HP should be positioned as the technology provider that connects grandma and grandpa in the rural community with their grandchildren and their sons and daughters in the urban environments. And secondly, the second opportunity, beyond connecting Asian families, is to sell into the digital natives. Because through pestering power, they influence all the purchasing decisions anyway. Two opportunities. This digitization is real. According to AVG IT Security, more 2 to 5-year-olds across the world today know how to play Angry Birds on their iPhones than know how to tie their shoelaces. Now, I'm not sure whether we have any parents in the room. This is not the parenting session, but if you thought Gen Y, the millennials, or Mao's little emperors were weird, just wait for this little generation. The reason that they are so important and we should be studying the digital natives is that they're the ones that are going to be shaping our digital future. Their consumption mindsets are what we need to tune into. But on an equal footing, we now see the aging Asian population using new styles of equipment, using mobile health, and using devices like this one that you simply place on your arm to measure your blood pressure, which is still reasonably calm for me here today. Now, I'm not necessarily in that demographic, but people are taking their healthcare matters into their own hands, and the data is going somewhere. This aging Asian population is going to need devices and screens to monitor their own health constantly. The way that medical doctors are going to connect with an aging Asian population is via screens, and HP should provide it. We can check what my levels were at the end of this presentation. mHealth is growing in Asia, and it is a unique opportunity for all of you. Not necessarily as the providers, but as the providers of the screens that connect. Digital natives have what's called pestering power. According to recent research in Asia, when it comes to computer purchases by families, 49% say that their digital native kids influence the particular computer they bought. Do we need to learn how to communicate with digital natives? Absolutely. Where do they hang out? What social media are they using? Is it Ren? Do they hang out on Weibo? What is the thing that they communicate? The message here is that digital disruption is happening. And for industries like yours, the fuse of digital disruption and the bang of digital disruption is rather short. And the bang, the impact is large. And it's already happening in ICT and in retail. Some industries are more protected, like agriculture, pharmaceuticals. You, unfortunately, are not. In this battle for cash of the future, even cash may no longer be king. Because digital natives today don't want the green stuff. Because they're already spending your digital money using your credit cards via iTunes without ever seeing cash changing hands. Their digital expectations are different. Let me show you what this all looks like though, and tune you into a couple of solutions when it comes to all of this digitization. Because I've talked about how to really get into the minds of the digital natives. But let me go analog with you just for a moment. Because what you need to do as business owners of tomorrow is to connect the analog and the digital. Who remembers the good old days of handwriting, by the way? Clearly, I do not. Who's not going to raise their hands no matter what I ask today, by the way? Okay, all right, fantastic. Thank you for your honesty and integrity there. But truly adaptive companies who think about the future, they recognize that the digital is fantastic for providing information to our rational digital minds, but the analog is the thing that retains client relationships. To connect with families, to connect cross-generationally. It's the thing that is experiential, emotional. And at the core of this is what I call the digilog, the convergence of the digital and the analog. And let's take a look at how retailers, both some digital players but also some analog players, are going digilog in how they connect with the customer. Remember, digital minds, analog hearts. My mum says that this book is fantastic. She's my best testimonial in the world. Who here remembers their first digital MP3 download? All right, it was probably an illegal one, but it's okay. This is a safe environment. I mean, really, nobody really remembers your first MP3 download. Who remembers, on the contrary, the first record or the first tape or CD you ever got given? I mean, why is this? Nobody remembers their first MP3 download, but vinyl seems to be forever. 10% of retail today gets transacted online, 90% offline. There is still very much an analog story to be told. Now, for the Aussies in the audience, I really just show these slides because when my brother and I are out and about, people go, "Sing us that song." Apparently, we look like the Proclaimers. I'm not sure. The story in the Western world at the moment is that vinyl sales are growing 20% year on year in a retro revivalism. This is important to remember. Analog still has a role to play in our digital future. But increasingly, consumers are becoming channel agnostics. In recent research in Asia, this is what the consumer said about omni-channel. 78% only buy from businesses that make it easy for them. 82% use multiple channels to meet their needs. 17% only feel that companies allow them to change channels easily. But 60% would pay more to companies that deliver excellent service, and 20% would pay up to 20% more to receive that great analog and digital service combined. And while it seems that everything is becoming digitized, when it comes to product service and also to quality, the Asian consumer still opts for the analog, for the face-to-face, for the personal touch, for the bespoke. This is important to remember. And I believe there's a real synergy, to use a big management consulting catchphrase, in combining the analog with the digital, to combine the offline with the online, to go omni-channel, to connect both with minds as well as hearts, to be social but also commercial, face-to-face as well as interface to interface. Let's look at some quick examples. If I threw out the term Google to you, would you think more digital or more analog? Most of you would probably say more digital, right? Yet in a marketing stroke of genius, this is their latest advertisement. So here's Google, the digital disruptor, making all of its money from Google AdWords, telling all of us that we should communicate and spend Google AdWords dollars with them. Yet how do they do it? With a printed analog voucher printed on HP equipment. Telling us the future of communications are all digital. I think there's a big secret. And the secret is analog still matters. These companies have figured out that they need to wear their digital pure play hearts on their analog sleeves, to connect and reach out to the consumer via the physical world. eBay's pop-up shop in London, PayPal's pop-up stores and windows in Singapore, or even Taobao's delivery via Taobao girls who deliver the devices to you, or Tesco, the most downloaded retail app in South Korea, are merging and converging the digital and the analog together. Zappos, which we heard briefly about before, a pure-play online digital retailer of shoes, has this advertisement where they send a very strong message from their customer call center, located, interestingly, in Las Vegas. Because of their customer service and hospitality nous, this is one of the types of phone calls that they receive on a regular basis, showing you how even if you're a pure-play digital player, you can still have an analog soul.
Thank you for calling Zappos. How can I help you today?
So I have a little problem. I ordered a dress yesterday afternoon, and it showed up this morning.
Okay.
I'm not really emotionally ready for it yet, so I put it in the garage under a tarp.
Totally understand.
So can I send it back?
Yes, you can absolutely send it back. You will have to touch the box, though.
Thank you so much.
So that is Zappos. Another example, of course, is a company we hear too much about in the media. But one of their concepts, when everyone else went digital, was to bring a little bit of the analog soul back into business. And their whole retail concept store experience is modeled/stolen by the Ritz-Carlton. The concierge that you meet all the way through to the Genius Bar where you hang out to share your technological life issues are all modeled on the whiskey that you used to have at the Ritz-Carlton, telling the waiter about your life's issues with your partner, etc. Or is that just me? These guys are still transacting and building up their brand via the bricks and mortar experience, and I think that is a key opportunity for all of you moving forward. As a Swedish Australian, it would be unethical of me not to speak about IKEA. Yes, we are responsible for most of the divorce rates around the world because you go into IKEA, have massive fights, and then you end up with too much stuff that you're lugging away, and then you have to build it from scratch, frequently without an Allen key and often without an instruction manual. But they're in the digital game now as well. They used to be the biggest printer of a single edition of anybody in the world. They printed more IKEA analog catalogues than the Catholic Church printed Bibles. This is an impressive fact. Imagine all the hotel rooms you've gone to around the world. But in a stroke of genius, they are moving from just Pine and the analog to introducing more pixels as well. We can see that the analog story can continue through clever digilog movements. Check out this ad before we start wrapping up.
This is the first IKEA catalog. It was born in the woods of Sweden a long time ago. Back then, we were a small company with a big idea: to create a better everyday life for the many people. The idea spread, and our little company grew. So did our catalog. Every year, it inspires more and more people around the world to create homes they love. Now, we are taking the inspiration one step further. This year, the IKEA catalog is alive. Alive with smart ideas, fun stories, and beautiful products. Every page marked with this symbol is a door to a world of additional content. Download the IKEA catalog app for your smartphone or tablet and scan to unlock films, interactive experiences, photo galleries, and more home furnishing inspiration. With this year's IKEA catalog, there are endless possibilities to make your life at home just a little bit better.
It sort of gives me Swedish goosebumps. I think this is part of the sort of Swedish conspiracy theory to take over the world, one Allen key at a time. But what I love about this is that these guys are wearing their analog hearts on their digital sleeves. Let me just break this down for you by showing you what IKEA is doing here. Now, all management consultants, we love a good X and Y matrix. Who loves the word X and Y axes, by the way? I mean, I know a lot of you love them. But to place all of the afternoon's kind of content into a bit of a strategic focus, let's just do this for a moment. Over on the right-hand side, we have the analog. These are analog ways of winning our analog hearts. And over on the other side of the x-axis, we have the digital. On this axis, on the y-axis, at the bottom, we have traditional things that you do in your business that gets you results. I believe that there's a massive case to be done not to throw away the analog baby with the digital bathwater. There's stuff that you guys do in your business that totally works and you should retain them. IKEA has some stuff that has worked for them for 60, 70, 80 years. They should keep those into the future. But they should also introduce some new ideas. They've got to innovate with the times equally. So what does IKEA do? Well, they have the catalog, which connects with our analog hearts, right? They also have a great fun for the whole family food experience that connects with people's hearts. You can also put the stuff together if you're kind of into that kind of thing. It's kind of hands-on. But digitally, they have the Ask Anna web chat. They've had that for a long time. It works really, really well. They're socially connected as well. But the new kind of things that they've introduced, both in the analog environment and the digital environment, are things like personal shoppers, design geniuses who can help you when you go into the store and have even more of a face-to-face interaction. And in the digital world, they're digitizing the catalogue, going digilog with a catalogue. But they can do even more things. They can have mobile apps. They can do 3D, do it yourself, because it's in the ethos of the brand. These are just some ways in which IKEA is now going digilog. The president, Sun Wei-min of Suning, recently said that in the future, we as a company need to be a combination of Walmart and Amazon, converging the best of the analog with the best of the digital in a digital convergence. Have a think about how this can look in your own business. What are the face-to-face aspects you need to introduce in the future? Is it a genius? Is it a technology supporter? Is it someone who goes into someone's house, like my mum's house, to help her set up her Wi-Fi, pick the right plans for her, teach her how she can Skype with me in Australia? Or could it be novel ideas as well? Having digital walls in your shop with reviews and testimonials from clients who love your service. Having videos go out via newsletter every month teaching people about how to use technology and maybe how technology can be used in the educational focus that is so core here in Asia. My final thinklets are the following. Firstly, we all need to get better at providing informational value to the consumer's increasingly digitized rational minds via the digital world. But we have to remember to provide experiential emotional value to their analog hearts. And thirdly, I believe that there is a massive opportunity for HP and APJ to connect the digital immigrants and the digital natives of Asia, rural and urban. Massive opportunity. So some of you might ask, so what happened to your mum's business? Well, you'll be pleased to know that while youngsters are often taught to respect their elders, sometimes elders also ask their sons and daughters for advice, particularly if they're digital natives. This is her new website. It looks a little bit different, right? Because now she's integrating old and new, using Instagram, blogging, Facebook, but she hasn't forgotten about her history. She doesn't want to lose her core competency. And recently, you don't need IKEA's budget to do this, by the way. But recently, we ventured into digital video. My dad is now a retired colonel of the Swedish Army, which is a really good career move because we never go to war. He's now retired, which in a family business context, as you know, means that he's free labor. And so we got my dad to tell a story, an educational story, told in store. We got some students in to film it for free because they wanted to fill their portfolio. And this is the simple story he tells about tying a tie. It might not be profound, but it's been impactful. Have a quick listen. You don't need to speak Swedish to understand the message of this.
Den slipskruv som jag nu ska knyta kallas för four-in hand eller universalknut. Det är nästan perfekt för de här blir nästan lika.
And he's so proud that for live television, which he thinks of as the web, these ties were the same length. Now, importantly about this is that this got picked up by one of the major Swedish newspapers. It was blasted all over the web, picked up by Twitter and Facebook, because tradition got to meet technology. And since then, Mum had 2 of her best months of sales. Now, I cannot conclusively prove the correlation, but I have a strong kind of gut and heartfelt feel that this might have had something to do with it. Ladies and gentlemen, when you think about digital disruption, the digitization of everything, these waves of change that are hitting your retail shores right now, I need you to kind of stop for maybe a day or 2, or maybe even 3, like now, to start spotting the trends around you in the world, to get an underlying feel of the currents and the changes that are occurring around you right now. Because this will give you an insight into how to position your business, your brand, HP for the future, in a way where you combine the best of tradition and technology, the analog with the digital, the offline with the online. Because only when you reach that convergence of thought to provide informational value to people's digital minds, but also connect experientially with their emotional analog hearts, that is when your business worlds will truly change for the better. And I think that's exactly the way it's meant to be at HP One World into the future. Thank you very much.